The burden we carry in modern life is a universal suffering that everyone experiences in the complex tangle of human relationships. Do you ever find yourself spending nights alone, wondering, why am I the only one who feels this pain? The sense of isolation at work, the feeling of not being enough within a circle of friends, and above all, the deep hunger in your own heart for fulfillment and understanding. Driven to meet the expectations and evaluations of others, we often leave our own hearts behind. When we observe the negative traits in others, many of us confront a deeply penetrating question: is it possible that I, too, have a rigid streak? A tendency to look down on others, just like that person who seems disliked. This self-doubt and introspection are profoundly common, a genuine anguish that many secretly harbor. We fear that the aversion we feel toward others' actions might be a mirror, reflecting an unwelcome aspect of ourselves. We might dismiss this as self-loathing by association. But Buddhist teachings delve much deeper into this phenomenon. It stems from ignorance, the lack of wisdom to see the truth, which gives rise to our inherent self-centeredness, known as ego clinging or self-grasping. This heaviness in our heart steals joy and peace from our lives. But please, rest assured, the wisdom of Buddhism, which transcends time, holds the key to fundamentally lightening this burden and reclaiming genuine tranquility and healthy connection with others. This video aims to shine the light of that wisdom upon the troubles of modern life. By understanding and practicing these teachings, your heart can and will transform into a place of lightness and serenity. Long ago, in a quiet village in ancient India, lived a young man named Vikram. Though intelligent, he carried a constant, deep suffering in his heart. His pain was akin to the loneliness we feel today. He watched as villagers competed, rejoiced over minor superiorities, and sometimes exchanged gossip and scornful words, filling him with profound sadness. Whenever he encountered a rigid old man in the village assembly, who constantly criticized others and believed his own opinion was absolute, Vikram's heart grew heavy. Why do people fail to acknowledge each other? Always striving for superiority? And perhaps, am I not judging that old man in my own heart? He wrestled intensely with the rigidity he found within himself. He had few friends and lived in the solitude of a restless heart. One day, Vikram visited an esteemed sage named Rama, who lived in a forest outside the village. The sage quietly welcomed Vikram and patiently listened to the distress swirling within him, the disgust toward the rigidity and condescending remarks of others, and the fear that he might be the same. Looking into Vikram's eyes, the sage Rama spoke in a gentle voice, "Vikram, the reason you suffer from the rigidity of others is that your heart holds a strong frame of judgment that says, this is how things should be. When you judge another's action as bad, your own mind becomes rigid. And that is what causes your suffering. And as you fear, that rigid judgment is the shadow of your own strong clinging to the belief that my way of thinking is correct." The sage then hinted at the core of the Buddhist teaching. The first step to letting go of this suffering is simply to see. Before judging others, simply observe what is happening in your own heart. When anger or aversion arises, notice it without being swept away by the emotion. Thinking, my mind is now judging that person's action as bad, and clinging to that judgment. The actions of others are the result of their past experiences and suffering, their causes and conditions. And they do not exist to make you suffer. When you accept this fact, your heart can create a space for compassion or loving kindness. After this conversation, Vikram returned to his village and began practicing the sage's words. Initially, whenever he saw the rigid old man, the voice of judgment arose in his heart, but each time, he tried to simply see. He stopped labeling the old man's actions in his mind. He simply tried to perceive the facts as they were. The old man is speaking in a loud voice. The old man is frowning. Over the next few days of practice, a surprising change occurred within him. The old man's actions began to be perceived not as an enemy disturbing his peace, but merely as a phenomenon. The ripple effect of this inner peace was astonishing. Vikram's expression became calm, and the unconscious tension and aura of rejection he had emitted disappeared. People who had previously avoided him began to speak to him. They silently sensed that he was no longer looking at them with a judging eye. Crucially, the fear he had constantly harbored that he might be disliked faded away. This was because he had shifted his focus from the evaluation of others to the state of his own heart. Inner peace brought forth harmony in the outer world. Gradually, he began to form connections with friends who understood him. The sage's teaching showed Vikram that true connection doesn't start with trying to change others, but with thoroughly examining and letting go of one's own mind. Let us now examine the structure of our modern suffering through the lens of Buddhist wisdom. The emotion you feel, I dislike that person's rigid attitude, I cannot tolerate their condescending remarks, is rooted in a mental mechanism called mental afflictions. Particularly the three poisons: crave, aversion, and delusion. When we see faults in others, a form of pride called arrogance unconsciously arises. I am different, I am better. And when that person acts contrary to our expectations, aversion, anger, or dislike is born. Furthermore, the fear that I might be the same comes from the truthful insight that these mental habits exist within us all. This is the true nature of seeing ourselves in those we dislike. Buddhism teaches that we are all, to some degree, beings possessed by these mental habits. Aversion toward others is ultimately a state where the self-centered illusion of the ego is suffering in reaction to an outside world that doesn't conform to its wishes. Buddhism is essential for resolving this suffering because it provides the path to break these chains by understanding interdependence, the truth that nothing exists independently. Interdependence means that everything arises through the mutual influence of interconnected relationships. The rigidness of that disliked person is a result of countless factors: their past, their environment, their mental state. It is not a fixed evil. Understanding this is the key to liberation from judging others. The practice of Buddhism is the act of letting go of the clinging, born from the illusion of self, and cultivating compassion, which sees the suffering of others. For those of us who struggle with aversion and loneliness, this is not merely a philosophy, but a science of the mind, a system of wisdom for achieving genuine peace and harmony. Let's apply these teachings to our modern challenges. Whether it's dealing with difficult people, self-doubt, or loneliness, the path of the Buddha offers concrete solutions. Application to modern challenges. Dealing with difficult people. Through non-self when suffering from another's behavior, practice the insight of non-self. This is the truth that there is no fixed, unchanging identity in ourselves or others. That person's behavior is a manifestation of their temporary circumstances. Try to see their actions as a moment where their own inner suffering is being expressed. Practice when dislike arises. Say to yourself, "This is a manifestation of their pain, not an attack on me. It is just a conditioned reaction in this moment." This creates a wisdom gap that breaks the cycle of anger. Anxiety about the self through impermanence, self-denial. I'm bad at socializing, I'm inadequate, is healed by the teaching of impermanence. This is the truth that everything is constantly changing. Your personality and your current state of loneliness are not a fixed essence. They are temporary states arising from present conditions. Practice. When a self-negating thought surfaces, acknowledge it. My mind is currently clinging to the thought of being inadequate. But this, too, is impermanent and will change. Accepting yourself as a work in progress frees you from self-judgment. Loneliness through compassion. The sadness of lacking connections stems from an inner yearning. Instead of looking outward for someone, first focus compassion toward yourself. Practice. Try self-compassion meditation. Sit quietly and repeat, "May I be happy. May my mind be peaceful. May my suffering cease." This nourishes the self. When your heart is full of this kindness, a space to give naturally opens up, drawing healthy connections toward you. By continuing these practices, you will establish a life grounded in your own inner peace, rather than being tossed about by the actions of others. We have seen how the burden of relationship issues and self-doubt stems from clinging and ignorance. But the greatest hope is that the power to overcome suffering resides within you. When you struggle with the rigidity of others, it is a precious opportunity to confront the shadow of your own ego, an invitation to walk towards true freedom. These teachings are a practical path of practice for finding tranquility in this modern world. Please begin the practice of observing your judgments and letting go with your breath. When we light the lamp of compassion in our own hearts, the world around us will be illuminated by that light. You are not alone. With these teachings, you can lighten your burden and walk a life filled with harmony. Your inner peace is the most powerful light in the world. If this story resonated with you and provided some insights or learning, I'd be delighted if you could press the like button. Also, if you subscribe to the channel, I'll be able to continue sharing various life wisdom and lessons with you. Please share your experiences and thoughts in the comments section as well. Each person's experience becomes valuable learning for other viewers. Thank you so much for watching this video to the end today. I look forward to meeting you all again in the next video.